Going to the Philippines for the first time before you go. Part one of our Welcome to the Philippines ebook or audiobook. We'll start with luggage. What do you need to take to the Philippines? The first thing I would say is clothing. Don't overbulk on clothing. Limit it to stuff that you really do need and stuff you may actually want to leave there. I generally leave clothing in the Philippines and have clothing in the UK, and that means that my luggage is empty going one way or the other, because then I can put in stuff that I really want to take, like tea. So try and limit what you're actually going to be carrying to what you're actually going to use. But also, if you're sure you're going to meet the right person, etc., you don't need to bring your clothes back. I would leave them in the Philippines with them. They will look after them for you, and it means that the luggage, when you bring back next time, you can bring more stuff with you that is better for your location. Maybe it's a new frying pan or whatever it is. I've taken all sorts over the years. I think one trip was 34 kilos of chocolate bars, for example. But the stuff you won't need is things like mosquito repellent. Off lotion is readily available in the Philippines and a lot cheaper than it is online. You'll also find things like toothpaste and all the shaving essentials are available in the Philippines. The only exception to that, if you use razors like I do with a proper blade, then take your own, because there's so many counterfeits in the Philippines. Some of those are like trying to cut your face with a plastic knife. They just don't cut because they're fake blades. So I advise taking your own blades for your shaving. Don't bother with toothpaste. Get a toothbrush when you get there. All that sort of stuff. Just don't bother carrying with you. Except for the razors. Everything else is available in the Philippines. And on most flights, they will give you a toothbrush and other bits and pieces in flight. So don't worry about it too much. Taking gifts to the Philippines, I normally take chocolate or other small bits and pieces because it can be separated out to a large number of people. People are not after large gifts. The main thing for people is actually receiving something from abroad, which is what they appreciate. It's nothing to do with the value. If it's to do with the value, you might have met the wrong person. Because most people just appreciate the most simple things purely because it's come from overseas. There's also a lot of people with a sweet tooth, which is why Cadbury's chocolate was always on my list of things to bring. But you should never feel that you're being forced into taking stuff to the Philippines. You should just be doing it because you're bringing it as a friendship thing. It's like I said, as soon as it starts becoming expected, then it's no longer a gift, which is my point, is where I stop actually giving any gifts whatsoever, because they've gone past actually deserving a gift to annoying me. So what other gifts can you get? One of the good ones is checking out your supermarkets and other places with clothing items that are on sale. Having brands from overseas is often a nice thing for people to receive. But bearing in mind, people are often smaller in size than most Western places sell. A lot of the stuff is probably more suitable for a teenage child in the UK, size-wise, than an adult. Because the shapes are different. For example, for females, the bust size is a lot smaller than you'll find in the UK. So I concentrate on items like t-shirts that are for anybody. And in the Philippines, most people wear t-shirts at some point of the day. It's that sort of environment. It's nice and sunny. It's nice and hot. So no problem whatsoever with t-shirts. And if you get them on sale, nobody cares. The main thing they're interested in is A, that you're there, and the gift is secondary to that. But the gift has also come from overseas, which makes it an important gift because you brought it and you brought it from your country. Beyond that, that's the value of the gift. You don't need to be winning hearts and minds here. You'll set yourself up for a fall by over investing in stuff that they're not really asking for, or you don't really need to be spending too much on. It's better to spend things on practical things in the Philippines. And if you're setting up for the first time, you don't know what you need to be spending money on in the first place. One of the best gifts that keeps giving, I would have to say, is pseudo-cream. Pseudo-cream is normally used for nappy rashes, but funny enough, it's good for acne, it's good for burns, it's good as an anti-infectant. It is so useful that I highly recommend it as a good giveaway. But it's also worth keeping yourself. We always keep tubs of the stuff because it's a very, very useful thing, and it's also cheap in comparison to stuff people get in the Philippines. An example of this was a friend of ours had to take a child to the doctors. I can't remember what it was for, but they needed some antiseptic cream when they come back. The antiseptic cream was over 300 pesos for a little super glue sized tube. A tub of pseudo cream is A, much bigger, B, it lasts about 2 years instead of a month's worth, and C, you can use it for so many things. Very, very useful, very practical, and people love it. One of my wife's cousins, for example, her acne changed overnight from using pseudo cream because her face was quite inflamed and she'd been to skin doctors and all sorts in Cebu, and very little differences had been made with so much time and money invested in treatment. But overnight, the inflammation disappeared by using pseudo cream. Bit of a bizarre thing, but it was one of the things that helped clear up her skin from acne. Very simple thing, but pseudo cream I have yet to find available in the Philippines except for the stuff in my bag. So very useful for giving to people. Clothes for yourself. You need to be aware in the Philippines that you're going to struggle to get stuff that fits you. I'm having the same problem here in Spain because my forearms and thighs are much bigger than the local Spanish. In the Philippines, it's just the same. I could not get a single shirt in SM Mall to get over my forearms. They cut for an Asian cut. As such, they're narrower around the stomach, at the sides, thinner arms, thinner legs, and for a lot of Westerners, if not most, they simply do not fit in these clothes. This is why when you're going to the Philippines, make sure you pack clothing for yourself and get yourself climatized clothing. I like the trousers with the zip knees, so you can have the trousers or shorts by unzipping the bottom parts of the trousers. They're very, very lightweight, so they don't take much weight in your luggage, easy to wash, hard wearing, and practical. I often also wear the thin, like hiking type shirts as well, for the same reasons. Even if you get caught in a downpour or rain, it doesn't take long for them to dry out. Hiking boots I recommend because in the wet season, there's a lot of stuff floating around in the water. Keeping your feet dry stops athlete's foot. Keeping your feet dry stops infections from the water. There's a lot of stuff that goes in the water. We do not know what it is. There's stuff that gets washed down from pesticides and things on the land. There is people using it for waste for the toilet. There is all sorts of stuff getting in the water that shouldn't be there. Always wear boots in wet weather. And if you do wear flip-flops, don't do it on the motorbike if you can. It's very easy to lose a foot in the Philippines. I know of at least 6 people that have lost from the knee down. Although the flip-flops wouldn't have protected that, I would have said, though, that it's just something to be careful about. One of the good shirts that I found in the Philippines, which you find at Gisana malls, they're called guitar shirts. They're normally wearing as an undershirt, but I found that the sizes can be quite huge, much huger than a lot of expats are, which suits me fine. Because I think I must have about 30 or 40 of those shirts. Because on a hot day, I'll get through 3 or 4 of them, because I'll have like 3 or 4 showers in a day. So there is some stuff around, but you need to know where to find it. The stuff in the malls, generally though, is not for you. It will not fit. Shoes will, but generally dress shirts, etc. You got no hope. There's a few Marks and Spencers and things like that dotted around if you can find them, which have larger stuff because obviously it was designed for Westerners in the first place. But the majority of places do not have stock that fits expats. Do you need dress shoes? I wouldn't bother. Most locations get a bit muddy or wet or dusty, so my personal view is a pair of hiking boots and flip-flops pretty much does me for everything. Keep your luggage light, keep it easy to carry, and the rest is gifts and other bits and pieces. I wouldn't recommend taking an expensive phone unless you really want to. The risk of having a phone stolen is probably much higher than having the place burgled or something else on those lines. Pickpockets are very, very good in the Philippines. My personal view is just get a cheap phone when you get there. It's just less hassle, and if it does get stolen, it's not going to break the bank or ruin your holiday. Should you take a laptop? Is the next question. It depends on the type of person you are. Myself, I can probably not live without my laptop. I have so much stuff going on online that even on an off day, I will still answer several emails relating to business things. So I can't do without a laptop, but I could probably do it all on my smartphone if I needed to, unless somebody actually asked me to start doing some transfers of photos or some documents that the phone wouldn't have on them. So it all depends on circumstance. I would say though, if you don't need a laptop, don't take one. There's plenty of internet cafes around, and what I did my first few trips in the Philippines, I used to take a laptop to the Philippines and then leave them with April. So every time I went back, I gave April another laptop, and we slowly ended up with a few laptops. Some we used ourselves, and eventually we actually gave one away. But generally, you don't need it unless you're gonna be needing it. For example, if you've got a partner in the Philippines, if you take a laptop, maybe you should set it up to gift it to them, so that when you come back, you get yourself a new one. That way, when you come back, you know you've got good communication between the two of you. It all depends on how you're set up, who you're going to meet, are you in a relationship or not. It all depends on you. These things you want to pre-plan before you go to the Philippines so that you've got in your head, oh, should I take a laptop or not? Am I going to give it away, or do I need it for work? Or can I just get away with the phone? It's only for 2 weeks. It all depends what reasons you're going for. If you're moving to live there permanently, obviously you're going to look to take everything with you. But computers and stuff are available in the Philippines. They're not hard to get hold of. Old machines are easy to get hold of, and there's a few places I recommend. Cube, which is spelled with a Q and not a C, do some nice small computers, and I bought, I think, probably about 30 machines from them. Very good company. But there's a lot of places dotted around, so if you wanted to buy a new machine, you could do. What about essentials? Well, being British, I pack tea. I pack OXO cubes. I pack sauces and other stuff for Indian food. I generally carry biscuits, although I find my kids go through them like termites. food essentials are stuff that I do take to the Philippines every trip. Even here in Spain, when people come from the UK, they bring us stuff from the UK that's food related. We have an entire tray here of different tea bags, for example, even in Spain. There's a lot of little comforts that you may miss, but if you're going for your first trip, you might be able to leave stuff there and build a stockpile. For example, if you're going out there for a 2-week holiday, you can leave your stock there. Then when you come back and then go back and bring more, you can build up enough for 6 months, for example. It's a useful way of doing things. If you're going on a longer trip, say you're going to move out there, I recommend sending ballot buy-in boxes ahead of you. I normally send 2 or 3 ballot buy-in boxes 1 or 2 months before I leave, because they arrive in the Philippines on the 2nd month. So as I arrive, they arrive as well. So things like that are worth doing if you're moving a lot of stuff. Although the recent amount of corruption and theft out of ballot buy-in boxes relating to the customs guys, don't put your power tools in or other assets that may get robbed. I would stick to tea and biscuits and the other bits and pieces you like, your favourite beer maybe. Things that are not of high value, but as a personal value is much higher. This is chapter 1 of Welcome to the Philippines. If you like this chapter, please comment, because if I get enough interest in these, I will run through them chapter by chapter on getting to the Philippines, living in the Philippines, and covering most topics. Let me know what you think. Thanks for listening.